What is the meaning of your life? I have a special interview today that I'm doing with a young man who is an outstanding father. He's an entrepreneur. He is a man who's committed to helping people to develop their greatness. I want to know that you're there and that you're present with us. So I want you to show us some hearts and some thumbs. I want you to share the page. And what else do we say? Like it and share it.
Yes, like it and share it. There you
like
go.
it and share it, okay? Like it and share it. And we're here in South Florida. I'm preparing for the seminar that we're doing on April the 6th through the 8th, called Discover Your Power Voice. And this is Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. And none other than with me today, Byron Nelson. You talk about a dynamo extraordinary. You're going to get a chance to meet him and to share some time with him as I'm going to ask him some questions. And I also want you to send me some statements that reflect how you see yourself, how you see your life, and the meaning and the purpose of your life. This is Good Friday. And as you reflect on that, because I've been doing a lot of thinking on that, what is the meaning of my life, this thing called life? And one of the things that caused me, I don't know about other people, that when you lose a lot of friends, and a lot of my friends have been going, and I wonder, say, whoa, you wonder how much time do you have left, and what do you want to do with that time that you have left? One of the pivotal points in my life that I made a decision was when I was in the Ohio legislature. I got a call from my sister, and she said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "What's going on with Mama?" And she says, "Mama has breast cancer." And so that was a deciding moment. And after I talked with my sister, I went back and I sat down in the Ohio legislature. My friend and colleague, Mike Stenziano, and I looked at the Speaker of the House, who was Vern Rife at the time, and I said, 5 years, 10 years from now, who would care what we did here? And he said, nobody would care 1 year from now. And I was reading this book, and it was talking about take control of your time and your life. And in the book it said, if you had 6 months to live, what would you spend your life doing? And I said to myself, they're sitting in the Ohio legislature, and the Speaker of the House asking people to stand up and express their ideas in support or opposition to a bill. And I thought, as if I knew I had 6 months to live, I would go back to Miami and I'd spend that time taking care of my mother, who's just been diagnosed with breast cancer. And then I turned to the next page, and on the next page the guy said, for all you know, this is your last. Whatever you put on this past page, he says, do as much as that as you possibly can. And just on that, I resigned from the Ohio legislature that day. I called a news conference, and I called Ray Miller, who was a community activist and a legislative aide for C.J. McLean, and I told him I was going to recommend him to take my place in the Ohio legislature in the 29th district. And he said, Brown, what's going on? I said, my mother needs me. My mother's sick, and I'm resigning from the Ohio legislature, and I'm going home to take care of my mother. He said, man, you just got appointed to the Education Committee, to the Human Resource Committee. He said, you a chairman? He said, man, you've got a larger office. You have a lot of privileges now. He said, you fought hard to get here. You just got elected. This is your third term. I said, I know. I said, I enjoy politics, but I love my mother. And I said, man, I'm gone. I caught a plane. That I closed and everything. And I went to take care of my mother. And I remember when I rung the doorbell, a friend of hers, her name is Mildred, was there. And she said, who is it? And then she saw me. She said, Mamie, it's Leslie. And I heard my mother say, I knew he would come. I knew he would come. And so today I want to ask you about what is the meaning of your life. But I want to first talk with Byron Nelson. Byron Nelson is an entrepreneur. He's a dedicated father. He is an individual that is committed to empowering people to have the keys that will allow them to transform their lives, to live their dreams rather than their fears. But not only that, not only is he an advocate and a powerful speaker, but he's the message that he brings. Hello, Byron. How are you?
I'm amazing, man.
Let the record
blessed.
show. You know, we both been using cocoa butter a little bit too much.
I moved over to shea butter today.
Okay, you went over shea butter.
I went over to a little shea butter.
Yeah, you know, they say black don't crack, but it does get ashy. That's great. But I want to ask you, have you been reflecting on what is the meaning, do you feel, that of your life that at this point where you are, that you want to live out?
What I want to live out is making sure that whatever I do today, whatever I do today, because today is the only day that I have, is that every day that God gives me, it gives me, it's almost like an extra, the best way to describe it is, my life is to mean, I've always said I want my life to live 1,000 years after my lifetime.
That's real leadership. That's real leadership, because what stays on after you're gone, what's still here, is an indication that you had some major impact. And so what does that impact, what do you want it to look like?
So what happened for me when I was really young, and the irony of this conversation, my cousin I just saw just get online, I've had, because when my parents moved from St. Louis and Chicago to Los Angeles, I didn't have any family there. My family went to make sure I was not around the corruption of what was happening within Black America during that day and time, and it's even crazier now. And so we adopted a lot of families, and the one who was closest to me was somebody, the person who's known me the longest since we've known each other coming out of the womb. So I had a second pair of parents. So I like to say I had 4 fathers and 4 mothers, and on top of my primary.
Got it.
While he was visiting me this weekend, we got a call this weekend that she died. That was just this Saturday.
Yes.
At the same time, I have another second father who's in the ICU coming out on life support, trying to fight for his life. And so with all of these different ripple effects of what I call history leaving us.
Yes.
And it becomes more prevalent every day that you live longer. I was young, and my father, I remember I was going through, my father was a collector of books. He was an advocate of books. In fact, CDs, books, back then, VHSs, cassettes, 8 tracks.
Yes.
I got an 8 track on you, bro. So 8 tracks, I got, I think the 2 that were the most impactful as far as books was Think and Grow Rich, and the most impactful series on cassettes I had was on you. And then on top of that, the most impactful book I read was the autobiography of Malcolm X. And
that had a tremendous impact on my life. Yes. I don't know what I did. I touched something.
I know. There you go.
All right. Very good.
And so ultimately what happened is I dusted off that book. I saw the transformation where he went from Muslim to, then he went over to the pilgrimage to...
and he became El-Hajj Malik
Exactly.
Shabazz. Right.
Exactly. And I always knew that I had the rebel within my soul, even at that young age of understanding that I wanted to be not a martyr. I didn't want to die saving our people, but I knew that I wanted to be a beacon light of somebody else who could dust off a book, read my story, understand where I came from, and said, if he can do it, I can be anything I want to be.
Yes.
And that is my mark on this planet, is to know that anybody that hears and sees my story can understand, overstand, comprehend that if you are willing to put in the work, because that's all this, I tell people all the time, if you give me somebody who has a dream, they have work ethic, and they have integrity, I'll show you a multimillionaire in 5 years or less, consistently.
Yes. And that, what you said, work ethic.
Right.
That's the rare thing.
Right. You had to find that work ethic.
And, you know,
I see a lot of people with dreams, but
yes. You know, I one of the things that I admire about you is your ambition and your drive, and you're one of the few people who I know. I hear your footsteps already. There's an Ed Blunt out there. There's a Dwight Pleasure. You haven't met them yet. There's a Johnny Wimbrey, Andy Enriquez. I mean, I have some guys out there. Kevin Bracey. There is Tracy Lynn and Stacy NC Grant. There are a lot of them, but you and they are those I just mentioned. They are hungry.
I can't wait till they meet me.
Listen,
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to meet them.
I got them coming in. I just talked to Johnny Wimbrey and Ed Blood. I got them coming in. I know they are going to be shocked when they see you. There's no question about it. But somebody asked me this morning. I was talking to Bijan, one of my mentees, and he asked, what is it that drives you when you get up in the morning? He said, Mr. Brown, what is it that gets you out of bed, that you still have that hunger in your 74th year on the planet? What is it? I want to ask you that. What is it that at this point in your life that's driving you? I saw your son Cameron, and I love the chemistry and the respectful relationship, and we hear so much about the absence of men in our community, the sperm donors. We don't hear about the good men,
right,
like you and like David Nelson, your father. What is it that drives you, in spite of all that you see, that you want to make an impact with your life?
I think there's two things that stand out when you ask that question. The first thing is something that my father echoed in me since I think the time I was in my mother's belly. He said, "You will be the last broke Nelson in our family tree."
Is that right?
And he said that,
you will be the last.
I get a chill even talking to you about
Nelson.
It. You will be the last broke Nelson in the family tree. You will be the last of the food chain to ever be broke. And I make reference to the power of word when we talk about Jesus. Jesus was the word before he became Jesus.
Right.
A lot of people hear broke, or they hear me talk about success or abundance, and they immediately want to interpret it as money. Broke, you can be, as you, I mean, I learned this from you, from many other teachers, and that is, you can be mentally broke, financially broke, physically broke, spiritually broke, emotionally broke. There's so many people walking around bankrupt.
Yes.
Utilizing and getting attached to that disease that is the most deadly, which is called excusitis, that live in lack and use that as a reason or an excuse for failure. Well, I don't have any time. So stay broke. I mean, I don't have any money. Well, I'm a single parent. Well, I'm pursuing my dream. How are you pursuing a dream and you have no money and no time? No, you have a wish. That's not a dream. A dream wakes you up every morning. You drive.
You don't need an alarm clock.
At all. I mean, it gives you insomnia.
But there's something. There's a urgency. There's a fierceness under your spirit as you talk about this. Why?
I believe it's the devil's three best friends.
What?
The devil's three best friends operate like vampires. Vampires can only come in your house if you invite them. The devil's three best friends are doubt, fear, and worry. And they bang at my door of me not believing in myself. And when I don't believe in myself, once I grew past that, I see them banging at other people's doors that I know, and my other family, my communities, my ghettos, my civilization of my villages, that not just here, but around the world. And we were taught as a leader that we need to stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves.
Yes. But there now that I feel in you, there's something that you have chosen to take another path with your life. But as much as you have chosen it, I feel intuitively that you were chosen for it. Do you feel that
I 100%.
You have got to do this?
It's not even an option. It's not a consideration. It's one of those things that, it's like Whitney Houston. She was born to sing. When she stopped singing, her gift and her talent were taken from her. Tyson was born to fight. When he stopped fighting, his talent was taken from him. I don't ever want my talent taken from me. Now this,
I know that's right.
But I was moved. I was born to stir souls, wake up mountains with a voice and with a message to let them know that they were born for greatness that they may not recognize in themselves.
And when the people that are listening right now, one of the things we know about David Nelson, your father, he was a finisher.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Too many people are on this mode of transformation and on this mode of shifting and paradigms and trying to grow themselves, and I'm trying to find myself instead of going to the mirror to understand wherever you are, there you go. Right? I see people go out, I do relationship seminars, I see people go out of one relationship into another. Either they downsize and they get somebody they think they can handle.
Okay, yeah. That's a good way of putting it, right. Okay.
Or they keep dating the same person, think there's something wrong with the rest of the world, not understanding nothing changes until they change.
Yes.
And so within that shift of my father, it didn't matter who you were. He said, if you just learn how to finish, the process will do all the rest. He said, everybody knows how to start. He said, there's very, very few people on this planet who know how to finish what they start. And the characteristics that are molded into an individual to become a finisher are priceless. Those are the people that get to the top of the mountain where the air is cleaner, where the wealth exists, where you can see further, where you don't have the stress, where you have the few others that are up there that can always bail you out. We talk about having a circle of friends.
Yes.
You know, I have a code that I teach my leaders around the world, and that is you don't talk to anybody about your problems who can't help you fix them. And you don't talk to anybody about your dreams who aren't going to help you build them. And that lives a very dangerous place where people settle and they're talking to another broke person about trying to help them out of a broke situation.
Right.
Broke don't begot broke. It just doesn't work.
Yes.
You dating another broke person. It's like, that don't make no sense.
Right. A friend of mine out of Houston, Texas, she's written a book called I Can't Afford to Marry You.
I definitely want that copy, signed, sealed, and delivered to my house.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Marilyn Logan is her name. Marilyn Logan. I can't afford to marry you. And she told this guy that she was serious, and he was in love, but she said, "Hey, I can't go there because I can't afford to marry you."
I'm gonna have to pass that book out to him.
I know. If you're just joining us, Byron Nelson is my guest today, and he's a speaker, he's an entrepreneur, he's a relationship coach. He helps people to live their dreams rather than their fears, and he has accomplished a great deal. And I've just been fascinated with stories he's been telling me about his father, the kind of man that he was, and the impact that his father's had on his life, and seeing him as a father himself with his son Cameron, who helped set us up so we could get on. And we're going to talk more, but I want you to like this page and share it. Like it and share it. And one of the reasons that I think that's very important today is having voices and examples of high levels of consciousness that will allow us to begin to hear some other kinds of thinking that's out here. One of the things that I strongly believe that the world exists as it does because people of darkness outwork people of light.
Come into the light.
Yeah, they work full time, and I want people, the world, to know there's some men with some melanin in their skin that can speak and don't have to use profanity every other word, that can speak and don't have to be filthy and have a lot of garbage and nonsense, that can speak and have thoughts that can help mobilize and empower and inspire people. And so Byron Nelson is one of those individuals that I highly respect and that I'm excited to pass the baton to, that everywhere you see me, he will be there because he's only like me. You remind me of when I used to
famished.
follow. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're famished, yes. You know. I used to follow Mr. Washington around everywhere. I remember he had this speech and drama class he was teaching at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami in Overtown, and they had wooden portables. And I was not one of his students. I just followed him around because I admired how he carried himself. And I stood on a milk crate looking through the window. It was raining while he was directing students for a play. And he called me in. He said, "Why do you watch me?" And he said, "I see you out here often." I said, "Because I like what you do." And he said, "You know the lines to the plays." He said, "I see your lips moving." I said, "Yes, I do." He said, why are you interested? I said, because I want to be like you. And he was very eloquent. He was a great orator. In fact, I eulogized him, and they called him the great orator. And fortunately, on the program, they had the list of speakers, and I was second to last. And I was so glad they didn't have me last, because his student that I consider the greatest student he ever has, Dr. Anthony Sweetie. You're going to meet him. I call him the cleanup man. There's no speaker like Anthony Sweetie. That's the only speaker I've ever feared. And I watched him and studied him for years. But most importantly, he became a surrogate father for me. I watched him from afar. And I remember being in church when we came there to eulogize him. And his son was sitting across from me. And what really grabbed me is I looked at his son and I looked at his casket. And I thought about who I came there to celebrate his life. And his son, who never got to know the man that I knew, the man that brought him into this world, that he slept in the same house. This man who spoke and I heard his voice and transformed my life, and he never heard his father's voice.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it happens every day.
Yeah, it happened for me and my father.
Yes.
I mean, I saw because you see your father in a certain light.
Yes.
And when people come after they pass, you see all the lives
Yes.
that they've touched. I'm sorry, please.
Yes, but I want to ask you, what was it about your father that you heard him?
I believe it was the complete composition of who he was as a man. The first thing that comes to mind is integrity. The integrity, like I said, he believed in finishing everything. I think it's one of the things that I get most upset about, people that have what I call an IQ level. And an IQ level means I quit level.
Where you come up with this? Who comes up with this? IQ level, I quit level. Who comes up with this? I want you to like this page and share it. Like this page and share it. Okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
Have a problem with people who say I'm still in, but you know mentally you can look in the eyes, like you said, you can see the hunger in me. I mean, I'm in the jungle. I'm hungry.
Okay.
I'm hungry. You say I'm hungry.
Right.
And it just gets more and more with every day that I live, and it amazes me how people have told themselves and convicted themselves to their own lie, that you can look in their eyes and know they're lying to themselves and you, based on their actions.
Yes.
Because if you just buy them at face value, you'll get caught up in their web of lies.
Right.
And so the whole thing about my father is, whatever he said he was going to do, it was done. Well past the moment, well past the excitement, well beyond all the hype and the moment and the exhilaration of what could happen if it was like, I'm finishing everything that I start. I've never seen my father not complete a thing that he set out to do. Not one thing. Take care of my mom, take care of me and my sister, move from house to house, literally put us in one of our income properties to save up enough money to put us in the most prestigious neighborhood where me and him walked. I'll never forget it. It was 1980, I'm dating myself now, it was 1981. And the law still existed where I live in Palos Verdes that blacks were not allowed to live up there. One of the most prestigious areas in Southern California. And the police pulled us over just because we were black in the neighborhood, and we were just walking. We were just taking a walk. And it's just, he was like, we're up here. Wherever we are going, where we deserve to be, not because it's white, not because it's black, but because it's our right.
Yes.
And I want you to have the best of the best, and I don't want anything to ever stop you, and I don't ever want you to see me ever quit on anything. And so that tenacity, persistence, I fell in love with the word persistence through all pain, to learn how to embrace pain to build character. I get excited about the character I built. Even in all the hardest times I can think of in my life, I appreciate every one of them. I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it edges and forges the character of what I'm prepared to do that others aren't.
If you're just joining us, I'm talking with Byron Nelson, And he's an entrepreneur. He's a very loyal and dedicated father. He's a very good friend. And he's a person that's committed to helping you to transform your life and your dreams. He's a relationship coach. And he's an individual that has a big dream, and he's hungry to change the planet. Listen, I want you to like this page and share it. Like this page and share it. Also, I want to see some of those hearts and thumbs up, and let us know that you're getting some feedback out of this conversation. And I'm close enough to my phone that if you have any questions you'd like to ask Byron, you'd like me to ask, just put that question up there and I'll ask it in your behalf. But in the meantime, I want to see some hearts, and also I want to see some hearts and some thumbs up and questions as well. When you think about your life, I want you to share with us a defining moment in your life that nothing will ever be the same again. You knew that because of what happened, because of your experience, because of what you observed, or because of what happened to you, that you knew your life would be different and nothing will ever be the same again. Tell us about that defining moment and how you handled that moment.
Man, one of the greatest defining moments, which is not the progressive side that made me necessarily better, that made me take a step back. I was put in my parents, like, just like every parent, we want to give our children everything they never had before.
Yes.
And so my parents put me into this private school. We were living in Compton. So I would go to Compton, where we lived. The Pyrus had just been given birth. The Crips had just been given birth. We had everything around us. It wasn't a bad situation because it was comfortable for us. Mm-hmm. It just is what it was. It just happened. If there's a pickup outside that's broken down, it's just a pickup outside broken down. You don't know any different,
right?
Because it's your comfort zone. But what was amazing is I was fighting being black in my neighborhood, and I was fighting being too white in my black neighborhood, and I was fighting being too black in my white school.
Wow.
Which created a whole confusion and made me take a step back and truly go in and become an introvert.
Yeah, so you were too black in your white school and too white in the black neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the defining moment in that was my kindergarten year and my first grade year and my second grade year, which started me on the path of listening to your tapes growing up, listening to Norman Vincent Peale growing up. My father had everything. Yeah,
now he introduced you to me. You were 11 years old.
I was 11 years old.
Wow. I'm old.
No, you are getting better, boy.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to tapes and CDs. My father was always about growing yourself into, it was always about your mind.
Yes.
It was always about your mind with my father. He's like, my father never took medicine in his life.
No?
Ever. He was like, headaches, that's in your head. Me and my sister, we got a headache. He's like, oh, you got a headache?
Yeah. I tell my kids, sickness goes to the weakest part of the body.
Exactly. Exactly. And I fell in love with being an orator, looking at Martin Luther King, looking at speeches, everything that was around me. I just was enamored with being able to shift a soul with words. And I remember I started with doing poetry. I went on the world class doing poetry around the world. I was one of the best people on the planet doing poetry.
What are some of the poems you did?
Oh, I wear the mask that grins and cries. It hides my cheeks, it shades my eyes. This debt I paid a human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts I'll smile, but I'll always have my mask. And I fell in love with falling behind the shell. That I was like, I'm not going to ever show myself. I'm going to give you the representation of the presenter.
Yes.
When I was young, because I was like, I'm not being accepted over here. I'm not being accepted over there. So I'll make sure that you get what you think you should get. And the principal of the school, ironically, his son was in my class. So when we did poetry at this school that was white, he always got first place. Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. By third grade, I had enough. And after we did the presentation, I always got second place. Everybody comes like, you know she got first. You know she got first. You know she got first. You know why you didn't get first? It's the principal's son.
Yes.
And it messed me up. So from that point, I did not learn how to excel and truly take full responsibility in my life until my late teens at best early 20s because I was like, I'm going to do just enough to prove that I can win at anything that I do, and then I'm just going to throw in the towel because there's no way that I'm going to win. It created
that mindset.
I
can't win anyhow.
It's stacked against me. There's no way.
And there are people who are now becoming hopeless and helpless because they're going out applying for jobs that are not there.
Exactly.
And after being told no so many times, a Gallup poll that said the psychological impact negatively on a person who's been unemployed and been looking for employment for 2 years is irreparable. Now, I don't buy that. But the damage is severe, more severe than going through a divorce, more severe than losing someone that you love through death.
Wow.
That amount of rejection compiled over 2 years. Yes.
It's a
and so
compound effect.
you knew that you couldn't win. The cards are stacked against you. And so you did just enough because you knew you weren't going to win anyhow.
It was so ugly. My parents would go in on PTA day, Parent Teacher Association Day. And the first, in the beginning, they do it in the beginning of the first month or 2 months. Yeah. You have the most amazing child. He's highly intelligent. He is so beautiful. By the end of the semester, he's a devil child. He's a devil child. Please come get your child. Because I would just act out because I just felt like there was no way to win. No matter what I did, I'd get right there, and if I did my best, I was always going to have this stacked. And the defining moment was just the love of my father and the love of my mother standing with me long enough and giving me the option to become who I needed to become. This happened at about 7th grade. I went to a boarding school where only 2 people of color made it in. Thousands were turned down. Everyone went to that school, went to Brown University or MIT or somewhere. And I came into my own amongst a very small, eclectic group of individuals who were all high achievers that I just felt like I was a part of. I was like, nobody here is better than me. I already know what I can do if I choose to do it. But I didn't have all the rest of the space around me caving in on me as if I felt like I was going to lose. So it's like it was me or nothing. It was, and it was between 8th and 10th grade. It still followed me. There was a residual effect.
Yes.
There was a residual effect.
I saw this movie with Tom Cruise. I always mention it, called Magnolia. And there's a line in there that says, we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
And so there is still some impact of that. If you're just joining us, this is Byron Nelson. He's an entrepreneur. He's a speaker extraordinaire. He can bring it from down deep. Let the record show. And I'd like for you to like this page and share it, like it and share it, and also like to have your comments of what we are talking about right now. We've been talking about the meaning of life and the meaning of his life and defining moments. And you said that ultimately, by your knowing that you could not win, the principal son was always going to win. That defeat, that you knew no matter what you did, you were not going to be able to pull out a victory. If you had to crystallize the negative impact that had on your personality, how did it show up?
It showed up in a way that I knew that I didn't want to experience failure ever again. So I did just enough to get where I needed to be, to fall back and let whoever else was going to supersede, so I would not have to experience saying, oh, well, you aren't good enough, or, oh, you didn't become in first place, or, oh, you weren't the best at what you set out to do, in a deck that was already stacked against me. So for me, all I needed to do, for me, was prove to myself that I was the best for a temporary period of time. And the negative impact is that I never fully got a chance to enjoy or be fully expressed. And truly live my life. I let one experience, was an ongoing experience.
Yeah, right. That was collateral impact.
Right.
It spilled over in other areas of your life.
Every area of my life. Relationships, my family, every area of my life. Almost to the point where it's like, again, it was a residual effect. I did not come into my full-blown belief in myself until early 20s.
Wow. If you're just joining us, this is Byron Nelson. I want you to like this page and share it, like it and share it. Also like to have some questions from you. If you have any questions, I just broke my glasses. So I just look at what I
We can afford some more.
We can afford some. I get these from Walgreens. I used to laugh at Fred Sanford. Sanford and Sanford, all the glasses he had. Now I got about 12 pair myself.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
So I want to know, Cheryl Hines, you have a question? Awesome. Okay. TK said, awesome, Brian.
baby.
All right. So what questions that you might have for Brian? I'd like to know. But also, what would you say to a person who's had setbacks and seem like life is just ganging up on them, piling up on them? How do you work through that when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel?
One of the greatest mechanisms to shift from that position to the position you want to be in life is to attach yourself to a hero. Whether it's from afar or whether you have access to them, attach yourself. Kobe attached himself to Jordan. LeBron attached himself to Kobe. All through history, Dr. J, Michael Jordan attached himself to Dr. J.
Yes.
Through
That's
all
a
of history.
great analogy.
Through all of history, anyone that has ever decided to be extraordinary, they had to believe, this is powerful, they had to believe in someone else before they could believe in themselves.
You know what? That is major. I said sometimes you have to believe in somebody else or somebody else's belief in you until your belief
Why
kicks
am I
in.
sitting here? Because I believe in someone else at the level and the height that I can't see. And I can see far.
Okay, yes.
But the stratosphere that I seek to go, I can't get there on my own. And the time it would take me to do what you have done may or may not be in my cards to ever do by myself.
Yes.
You can't ever do something on your own. You attach your dreams to someone who has already accomplished them
Yes.
until you believe in yourself enough by pulling others behind you.
You know, I was with a friend the other day and said in life, you know, you can have mentors or you can have mistakes. And mentors save you from making a lot of costly mistakes, unnecessary mistakes,
Exactly.
and losing a lot of valuable time.
Exactly.
But most people go the route of trying to figure it out themselves.
Big
And you
mistake.
make a lot of mistakes in the process. That's
Expensive.
why I talk about Mike Williams with you. I'm going to introduce you
Yeah.
to. He wrote the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff, The Road to Your Best Stuff, because he saved me as a mentor from making a lot of costly mistakes.
Right.
And that's very important. When you look at today, young men today, and I look at Cameron, and he does not have that virus, HIV, hood-infected virus.
Right. Hood infected virus.
AIDS, addiction to incarceration and death syndrome.
Oh my God.
Yes. How is it that you prevent Cameron from being infected, considered how prevalent the virus is?
What we poured in, I believe that when we talk about 81% of most homes do not have a father at home.
Yes.
The one thing that we made sure, or I made sure Cameron had was, in fact, it becomes an ongoing conversation. Why, you had asked me this earlier, to a degree, but even in the realm of people asking, why aren't you married? Or why didn't you get married? When my son, which was at the prime of the peak of where I was ready to go at that stage in my life, I found out right when I had eclipsed going to the next level at that point in my life, and found out on the night of the biggest accomplishment of my life, to me, that same night I found out that his mother was pregnant. Now, I don't know if she did that to bless me or curse me.
She blessed me.
No, I know.
Cameron
No,
is a
Cameron's
blessing.
no.
Yeah.
I don't know why she made the announcement on the night of. I think
Okay,
she
got
was
it.
angry.
Yes.
And we have to talk about Belizeans later. This is
Okay.
a beautiful Belizean queen.
Yeah.
And I always say that if there's somebody angry and you're in a relationship, please know you have something to do with it. So I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not deferring.
And
But-
hell has no fury to match a woman's scorn.
So in that blessing,
Yes, okay.
in that blessing, what happened was I made sure that because of who my father was to me, that he would always have a father. I decided at that point in time, and this is a conversation I had with her as well, there will be no other man in my son's life. I'm not stopping you from dating or marrying or going elsewhere, but there will be no other man but me in his life.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, he will not have two fathers and having another father raising him. He will not be trying to figure out who his father is. He will not have a misconceived notion about who is responsible for raising him as a man and who gave birth to him. He will have a strong, powerful, benevolent, positive figure in his life forever and know who his lineage is. And because of that, I forego dating and getting into a serious relationship. I believe in that period of time, up until the time that he was about 13, 14 years old, I only had, actually, a little bit further than that, I only had one serious relationship.
That's deep.
One serious relationship in the time that he was.
What
from the
role
time
did your
was born.
father, the kind of image that he provided, played in that?
Everything. My father never missed a basketball game. He never missed a tennis game for my sister. He never missed any event in our lives. He sacrificed everything to make sure that we had a family. He made sure that we came first. He made sure that we respected each other. He made sure that not just we respected each other, but he understood the whole dynamic of man to woman. For example, I've never seen my father open up my mom's mail unless it was a bill with their name on it. He was that respectful.
He was respectful
He
of
was
her.
respectful of his space. That's been challenges in relationships I've been in through my history. People are like, no, well, it's like I should have access to everything that's yours. It wasn't a matter of trust. There was so much trust that my father was just respectful. He never let me. I never opened up my sister's door. My sister never opened up my door without knocking and saying, "Can I come in?"
So the respect, he was a model for respect,
Yes.
and he required respect.
Oh, demanded it. Demanded it. That wasn't even an issue. It was. It goes to the seed of who we are. All it took was a look. I didn't have to hear any words.
Okay.
I didn't have to hear nothing.
Yeah.
It was just.
Right. If you're just joining us, his name is Byron Nelson, and we're talking about his incredible father, David Nelson. You know, you make me think about what would have been like for me to be raised in a house with my father. I've never known that. Father's Day came, I gave my mother, Mamie Brown, a Mother's Day card and a Father's Day card. You know? I did an event in Chicago once called, for Father's Day, I said, for fathers who provide and protect, and for mothers.
Yeah. I believe the way the universe aligned me with you to find your footprint and to find you as a mentor, as a big brother, you have so many characteristics that are identical to my father, which
Thank you.
it's just destined.
That we work together.
110%.
I look at that. Listen, I hope that you've enjoyed the time we've spoken together. Tell people how they can get in touch with you. Would you please tell them how they can get in touch with you? His name is Byron Nelson.
Oh, get in touch with me.
Yes. Hello. Yes, Stevie Wonder can
I'm
see
in a
this.
trance. I'm listening to him. I'm like,
okay.
you can reach me by Byron Nelson. It's real simple. My email is Mr.ByronNelson, BYRON, Nelson, T, you funny, Nelson, Byron Nelson @gmail.com. Very simple. That's all shifting between now and the next 60 days. We're shifting into a whole nother branding stratosphere between me and Big Brother Les.
Yes.
So for the next 60 days, you can utilize my email, or you can find me on Facebook. Once a day at least, I stay in communication with the universe through Facebook. Easy to find. The universe knows how to find me if you're truly looking for me.
Yeah, and you can find us today at the dollar store going to buy some more glasses. These are broken. Can you see? I need some more. All right. Well, listen, I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation time we spent together. We'll be coming back again shortly. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a training April the 6th through the 8th. You get a chance to see Byron speak and some of the other veterans that I've worked with and new people that are going to be there, people coming from all over the world. It takes place in Deerfield Beach, Florida. I want you to go to lesbrown.com, lesbrowntraining.com, lesbrowntraining.com. It's called Discover Your Power Voice. It's going to be powerful, how you can make a difference and make money too. This is Les Brown and Byron Nelson saying you have something special, you have greatness in you. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
110%.